Chimichurri. Is it a sauce, a condiment, a dressing, a marinade? The answer is all of the above. This delicious herbaceous concoction is a staple of Argentinian cuisine, but has become pretty common far and wide, especially for use on steak, chicken, and pork. A combination of fresh herbs, some seasonings, olive oil, and a touch of vinegar. This is an absolutely delicious addition to your culinary arsenal. When I first tasted chimichurri, I couldn't believe that I'd never had it before. It packs so much flavor into what is seemingly a very simple mixture of ingredients. There's nothing too crazy about parsley, oregano, oil, garlic, and a couple other things, but I will say that the flavor of chimichurri is absolutely greater than the sum of its parts. So we're gonna whip up a batch and then use it as a marinade and sauce for some meat that I'm gonna grill up later on in the day. As always, let's get started by taking a look at our ingredient lineup. First, of course, we have parsley. Parsley is definitely a main ingredient in chimichurri. Then olive oil, red wine vinegar. Pretty much every chimichurri recipe you're going to find is going to call for red wine vinegar. Then some garlic cloves. I've got 4 pretty good sized garlic cloves. Some kosher salt, ground black pepper, dry oregano, and crushed red pepper flakes. Now I'll mention that I do prefer to use fresh red chili peppers for this, but after going to 3 different stores, I simply couldn't find any this time of year. So we're going with crushed red pepper flakes. And there's really only a couple things I have to do to prep before we make the chimichurri. First, I'm going to trim off the stems from my parsley and give it all a chop. Now, since this is all going into the food processor, I don't really need to chop it for the sake of chopping it. I really more need to chop this parsley for the sake of measuring it, because my recipe calls for about half a cup of chopped parsley. So I can't really measure it before it's chopped. And once it's in the food processor with all the other stuff, I won't really be able to measure it that way. And for the garlic, again, I'm just going to give it a rough chop, actually more of a rough slice. I probably don't need to do this step, but I do like to break this down a little bit before it goes into the food processor. And now we're ready to process. All of the ingredients, except for the olive oil, are going into the food processor at this point. Parsley, salt, pepper, oregano, crushed red pepper, garlic, and that red wine vinegar. Now I'm just going to pulse this a few times until everything's nicely broken down and mixed together. I'll give it one quick scrape down with the rubber spatula and pulse it a couple more times just to make sure everything's got enough action from those blades. And now we're just transferring that processed mixture over into a bowl. And now we're just pouring in that olive oil, and we're gonna give it a really good stir until it's all totally mixed together. And there's just one last very important but very easy step. We have to let this just sit here for a couple hours before we use it. This is a key step in making this chimichurri so all the flavors and textures and the oils completely blend together and give us our delicious finished product. So once again, I'm just going to transfer all this into a small airtight bowl, and it's going to go in the fridge. So we'll come back in a couple of hours when it's dinner time. And here we are. It's actually been a little bit more than 2 hours, which is just perfect. It gave everything even more time to blend together. I will mention that I actually went ahead and whipped up another batch and mixed it with the first batch. These are pretty small batches, and I want to use this for dinner, and I'm probably going to use most of it. So I just threw another batch together, and now we've got a double batch to work with. And what kind of video would this be if I ended it here and didn't make something with it? So tonight, we're doing bone-in chicken thighs, one of my favorites. I really love chimichurri on a steak, and that might be my favorite way to use it, but it's absolutely delicious on chicken as well. So we're gonna marinate these bone-in thighs with some of that chimichurri, and then they're going on the grill. I don't want everything to totally dry out, so when I do bone-in chicken, I like to do it with indirect heat on the grill. That is, the flame is not turned on immediately beneath my chicken, but rather on the other side of the grill. With the lid closed, it effectively bakes it. But then right near the end, we can move it over to the fireside and give it a little bit of crisp, maybe a light char. And a couple times while it's cooking, I'll use a basting brush and reapply a little bit of that chimichurri. Alright, our chicken's done. The internal temperature is 165, so it's coming off the grill and it's time to plate. And lastly, I'm going to spoon some more of that chimichurri over top. And because somebody's bound to grill me on this in the comments, yes, I did separate out that chimichurri that I dipped the basting brush in when I was basting that not entirely cooked chicken. So no worries about cross-contamination, I've got it. And now there's nothing left to do except dig in. This unique Argentinian concoction adds just a little something different to our everyday American diets. The parsley, the spices, that touch of red wine vinegar, it all comes together in just the most tasty way that works as well as a marinade as it does a condiment. So if you've never had it, give it a try. I think you'll like it. So that's it for now. As always, be sure to like and subscribe and stay up to date with all our latest stuff, including future food videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time right here in the Great Lakes Kitchen.